it's just art, man. It's not that big of a deal anyway.
What's up, Rob and Ron? My name is Niger Chambers. I'm from Big Go Belt Media. Very excited to talk to you today about the new project, Art of a Hit, which is being released digitally August 20th. Gentlemen, how you doing today?
Doing well. Nice to meet you, Niger.
Doing well. Good to meet you, man.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the time. All right, we got to get right into this one here. What I really, the fascinating thing about this film, outside of the sound mixing and the score and soundtrack and just the artistic side of this, is I want to talk about the duality between you two's character, because although we do follow you, Ryan, majority of this film, there seems to be this glamour behind Miles, which is your character, Rob, in terms of getting to that point of what we deem as success. And then we get this closing shot where I think what success means becomes questioned. Can you talk about how you two was sort of able to kind of create that story of the duality of what success means and what is the two of you characters are trying to achieve from one another?
It's a great question. Well, I think to start that off, this was a very fun role because Miles' name is mentioned more than I think he's in the film. It's great. So you get this through line of like, let me haunt you, which, could be success in itself. If success is a ladder and you're willing to pull yourself up by every finger, every journey, every chapter, and you have people hanging on your feet, pulling you down, but you're willing to lend a hand to those who matter. That could be it could be a very haunting thing. And at the end of the day, I think in art, we have to be grateful that you get 1 inch and it's up to you to take that mile. And literally in Miles' world, when you do take that inch and you want to help out the people that matter to you,
right?
Yeah, it's a fun duality to be like, do you want to come on this ride with me and maybe we can create in that stratosphere now, and or not, but I'm going there. And so that was a fun world.
Go for Ryan.
Yeah, I think Miles does achieve what we're all trying to get to, right? And that is like, he is the through line that we keep talking about because he is the man, the myth, the legend in it, right? He did what we're all trying to do, right? Yeah. And like Rob said, he offered to bring me along, right? So it shows what a family we were, right? But my character wouldn't let go of the old family, right? Like, so that's the thing. It's like he knew he could take me to the top, and I knew I couldn't leave the rest.
Yeah.
And so it was that isn't it always that way? It's like, you always kind of have like, you have to leave friends because you're like, you're not giving me anything. You're not giving me what I need. You're not elevating me in any kind of way. And so you have to cut them out of your life. And that's, it's always that, like, what happens, who you decide to keep in your life, keep in your tribe, right? Yeah. And that's kind of the point of it between us two is like, Miles and Ryan's were best friends, they were brothers, and so that's why it's like when you lose a brother in your life, it's easy to say to cut people out of your life, but like you're gonna have regrets. You're gonna think about what could have been if I kept this person in my life, that happens in relationships, that happens across the board with family, blood family. So I think it kind of speaks on the film speaks on that a lot, and I always say that, it's a lot about regret. And I always say regret is a useless emotion, but it's also one that's inevitable when it comes to family,
For all the very for the horror tropes that's in this film, which is what I really love about this film, is that it's the really the natural horror in it. The things you're talking about, like losing your friends, like that's a big thing. Not just your friends, your brother, and you know we all went through that at a particular point of our life, whether it was the different high schools we went to or somebody moved, and that idea of losing that person, and that's questioned so much in this film is that's really the horror of this is being able to relate with these characters in ways that we all have experienced, whether you want to be an inspired artist or you're just somebody that really prided themselves on community and family, and that may be in question due to whatever your personal ambitions may be. I gotta ask a funny question to you, Rob. With every cast member of this film and all their characters being named after the real life names, how did you get Miles instead of Rob?
Well, I think the truthful reason is the guy who owns the castle is Miles Copeland, the ex-manager of the police, the brother to the drummer Stewart of the band The Police, and kind of using an element of like, this guy's on top of the world. He owns a castle. Like, he's just there. He's made it. He's got a room of the police at this castle. It's amazing. I like to think of it as like, he's miles ahead from these people. He's miles ahead from these people. And to take you up this ladder, I didn't get into this. You know, I was raised as a musician, and my mentor and producer in the years were like, it's either a hit or it's a hobby. And so when you do get, you know, something like this band, when you get Excelsis to play VMAs, that's no longer a hobby. That's in a garage band. We're excelling up the ladders. And I'm like, yo, you want to take this ride or you want to not? So to have that name was kind of always something to look up to, where I'm like, all right, let's keep on this train. Let's keep on this train. I mean, I'm a little offended, but you know, it's fine. It's fine. We'll figure it out, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think the original character name, once they found the castle, I think they changed the character name to Miles because of Miles Copeland. And I think it was pretty serendipitous. If I remember correctly, they had watched a documentary about the police and Miles Copeland's in it. And then Galen went to go look at this castle, and then it happened to be owned by Miles. And they had just like, I'd say he'd watched it literally like 24 or 48 hours beforehand. Both him and Charlie had like, you know, zoomed it together. So I don't know how they watched it together, but they watched it. And Galen calls Charlie and he's like, you're never going to guess who owns this castle I saw. And apparently Charlie was like, Miles Copeland, like just said it. And he was like, yes. Like he just knew because they had just been talking about this documentary.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they'd just been talking about this documentary because we've been watching we've been watching consuming as much like, you know, music media as possible, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how that came about. And then my name being Ryan, actually, when I got the script, it was Richard, but Charlie was Charlie, and Tim was Timmy, and Charlie, Tim, Galen, and I all did this movie called Band Slam together like 10, 15 years ago. Yeah. And I felt left out. I was like, wait a second. Charlie's Charlie, Timmy's Timmy. Ryan's Richard? I guess it doesn't mess up.
You would have been a good dick.
I know, that's what I said. I was like, just call me Dick. Just call me Dick. But I was like, wait, I'm not in the Band Slam club, guys? So yeah, that's why I decided to do it. Just because, and I asked them, I was like, why are you guys just Charlie and Timmy? And they're like, yeah. I was like,
that's
so I was like, all right, well, fine, I'm Ryan then. Yeah. That's how it came about.
See, Rob, you should have just you should have stood up for yourself, man. We could have made the change happen.
You know what? I will say, Ryan, we did this beautiful scene together, and he's introducing the band. And by the end, he goes to me and he's like, and Rob on bass and lead vocals. And we had to cut, we had to scrap it.
Totally blew it. Yeah. And I had a whole monologue too. I was like going and going and going. It's the last part of it. I'm like, and Rob on. I was like, oh,
God, cut him. Cut him.
That's a true friend right there for you. He even tried to slide it in there for you, man.
I know. Yeah.
Hey, Ryan. So a particular aspect of this film, we dive into my favorite subgenre in horror, and that's found footage. And when you get behind the camera and you both are shooting on location here, I gotta know what was like the real emotions behind filming that. Were you behind the camera and going through this castle in that capacity?
Oh yeah, the all the camera stuff is actually, or the found footage stuff is actually me. Going with the handy cam. I well, that's not true. A lot of it is me. There were some pickup shots where Joe Simon, the DP, amazing DP, took the camera and like ran off and did some extra shots that I was like, hey, those weren't mine. I didn't sign off on that. But no, yeah, most of it actually, yeah, was just me holding the camera and doing the thing. And we shot a bunch of those. I remember, yeah, it might have been one of the only nights I freaked out because everybody was partying off the thing, and they're like,
Oh,
hey guys, we're still shooting. I know it's just me with the handy cam. This is real. This is actually movie shooting right now. But no, yeah, most of the footage was me, I believe. It's been a while since I've seen it. So.
yeah, I've been freaked out, man. For one way or another, still a castle, and you think about the history, the stories, the possibilities, and you're going through it by yourself. Maybe an additional person. No, sir. No, sirree.
No, well, you know, at that point, by that point of shooting, we'd already been there a couple weeks. I was more afraid of the 1,000-year-old mold than anything.
Yeah, 1,000-year-old skin particles.
We all had what we dubbed castle cough, just because 1,000-year-old mold. You know, it's just you can't beat that stuff. Every morning it's like
one inhale and you get
deep cough.
COVID symptoms from that or worse.
Yeah, I was worse.
Yeah, definitely. We spent a bunch of time in that little pigeonnerie too, like it's where they used to keep the pigeons.
Yeah.
And that place was a little musky.
Yeah, you talked about the found footage stuff, and without spoiling the film, I was in the pigeonnerie for a while before I'm like, hey guys, when's the scene start?
That's right.
You're just sitting in there, poor guy.
It just smells like 1,000-year-old pigeon shit. It's great. Yeah,
1,000-year-old pigeon shit with
method
prosthetics on, so you can breathe in your nose.
Yeah,
I totally forgot about that scene because I flew out of my seat. I was like, God damn it, Rob.
that's the point.
Another thing with you, Ryan, in your performance is that the look of frustration is also unsettling the entire film. I'm wondering, what were you kind of keeping on your mind and your consciousness to kind of give us, the viewers, that feeling? And I think, again, that's something else we relate to. We know that you're the leader of the band. You have to keep the family, the team together. You're the one that's pushing this mission to go meet this, to get to the castle and record music, meet this guy that people are hearing all sorts of different characteristics about, and then you're getting news back home about what's happening. But at the same, while the camera is focused on you, we see a man that looks troubled, frustration, and it's this unsettling feel because there's the viewers, we just don't know what's going on this next. What did you do to keep that emote the entirety of the film?
Oh, that was just all real. I was dealing with Galen, you know, just channeling, dealing with Galen the whole film. No, Galen and I definitely talked about that a lot. Like we wanted to make sure and keep something that was real about letting everyone in your life down, like the possibility of letting like you created this family, you brought them all back together after having this giant success, and you know at any given moment it can all just, the house of cards can come falling down, right? And so it was like keeping that. And I know like we talked a lot about like during the nightmare sequences and things like that, like having this undeniable fear of failure, right? Of letting your family down, right? Like of letting your chosen family that you brought to help uplift and destroying their lives, right? And so it was just that. It was constantly keeping that in the back of my mind. And you know, I've been in bands my whole life, and and obviously doing films, you create these little families, and the last thing you want to do is let them down. So, you know, just keeping that emotion like alive and within you kind of every day, and just having that bubbling under the surface the whole time was important to both Galen, Charlie, and I.
Yeah, again, for all the jump scares and all the supernatural stuff that's in the film, or the memory scenes, I mean, like the realism of things, like letting people down, that's a real big fear. We hold that, folks with families, kids, we hold that close to us every single day. So, that's again, like I love these layered horror films. But I gotta come to you, Rob, because seeing your name attached to this film, and as you mentioned, your name being called more than you're in the film, with Galen really getting his feet wet now with his directorial debut here, you all are artists. And because the music is such a prominent part, the music and the music making is such a prominent part of this film, has there been a discussion about giving us Miles' perspective of this journey, Miles' story into another film? Have y'all talked about creating that character or fleshing that story all the way out?
Well, let me check my inbox after this because it should be. But no, I think the best we could have done was that kind of that closing scene between us where you're like, I see this. And I mean, it would be an honor to be able to portray that and be like, let's talk about the 1996 chapter of this into then, they talk about Miles in this film doing an arena tour at the pivotal time of them creating in the castle. And I'm like, that sounds like a fun film. That sounds like a fun film.
1000%.
And, the success of this will allow the budget of that. So yes, I'm going to say yes. I'll start pulling the hair out now, and we'll have Ryan in the cast, and maybe they can open for us.
I'm haunting you this time. That's all I'm saying.
You can wear that prosthetic. You can't shave. That's all I'm going to give you, man. Because God, man, my beard, it's still patchy.
But that's the Ryan. That's the story here. It's all about what do we deem as success. Is Ryan essentially idealizes Miles as made it, but Miles may think he's made it, but maybe he's envious of Ryan because Ryan took a chance on himself and whatever that may amounted to. You can say that Miles got into the corporate. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's a great storyline in itself. How many people that we get to sit and work and you interview that you're like, they're on top. Are they happy? Right.
Bingo.
And that's the biggest trade-off where you're like, how many sacrifices did I do? Although your bank account might be full, is your heart full? Are you still creating from the place of wonder? Which, most garage bands that start before they get big, that's all them just like rebelling and being like, I'm sticking it to someone. And, at some sort of commercial success, do you ever lose that? There are some who don't and some who very much do. And we always hear the horror stories of that. And, it is, rich problems to speak about. But I'm like, it's such a huge part where how many rock stars at 27 did we lose? Right. And you're like, you were on top of the game-changing world. You were just unhappy. And that's such a big horror where I'm like, ooh, now we're in a different psychological realm. We're in a very emotional one with less jump scares and more physical scares of like, hey, I can do, whatever substance in front of me to numb the little boy that's unhappy. And yeah, that would be a great story. I would happily sign on.
Get this man Rob a writing credit right now.
Get out of here.
I want a Coke producing credit just because I was on this call.
Same.
No, Ryan, I'm not doing the film unless you're in it, buddy.
Okay.
It's just the way it's going to go.
Fair enough.
Just
I'm shaving and we're doing the 1996. I'm down.
Mm-hmm.
You two are, whether people know it or not, you two are artists. And I mean that both in acting, but also in music. For you two, when you step into a project like this, which gets to blend your two happy worlds together, what's the excitement? What were some of the creative liberties were you two able to make coming into this, considering your backgrounds?
We had a very fun day where we shot the MVA stuff, the music awards, where it's just a couple of when I pick up an instrument, whatever, I'm a drummer first, but whenever I pick up an instrument, it brings me back to the 11-year-old child who realized he had a talent. And so when you're on stage with the same energy, we're all actors, but we're all musicians first. And so when you're in that and you drop in, and that same day we had to shoot a very powerful scene between us, I'm like, you're just fully dropped in. It's just coming from a place of truth. It's so fun to be able to create that. It's like doing a theater performance where you're not there for the audience. You're there for the truth within the other person. That's the only thing that's real. And it's the same when you have a microphone and 10,000 people in front of you. You pick up a guitar behind a drum set, you're locked in with being like, oh my God, I'm here. and that person's singing my song, and that person's throwing a bra at me, whatever it may be, you're like, oh my God, it's happening. So, you know, we got to share that. And that to me is the most powerful place I can ever come to. It's like, oh, we're locked in the truth, and I've been here before. And like, I get to have that vulnerability with someone I trust and love. Crazy.
Yeah, I would say I 100% agree. We, you know, that scene with Rob and I was so pivotal to the whole movie, right? And so it'd been on my mind even before I met Rob. You know, it'd been like one of those things where like, we gotta nail this. And then as soon as he got there, and as soon as we you know, just started playing and just started, you know, riffing off of each other, I went, we got, okay. Like all my fears just melted away. I was like, okay, no, this is it, you know? And, and, you know, luckily Galen and Charlie were totally open. We changed a lot of the dialogue. I remember just the first table read, I was already in France, you know, like when we did the first table read, and, you know, I just started crossing out my lines. I was like, I don't talk in this movie. And, you know, but it was good because, like, you know, again, I was like, there's going to be so much emotion. Like, we don't need this line. We don't need this line. And so we ended up cutting a bunch of my dialogue, and, but then adding a bunch of stuff. And I mean, you know, there's a couple moments I know, there's a scene between Allie, James, and I where, you know, I get them to leave, you know, by being so cruel that basically I'm burning it down, you know. Like, I know that there's that if I let them stay, I'm an asshole. So the only thing I can do is burn this down to get them to leave, you know. And it wasn't written that way at first. And I remember I added like a line, which I don't want to ruin it, but I added a line that just kind of cut really deep. And I remember Galen and I talking about it, and he was like, well, I don't want them to think you're an asshole, right? The audience. And I'm like, well, they won't leave if I don't cut them down to the floor. And if they do leave, then they're the asshole. And that makes no sense.
Good point.
I have to burn this thing down to the ground. And the audience is going to understand. They know why I'm doing it, right? So there were things like that, like, and I was like, let's shoot it both ways, you know, and we did. And so the liberties that we had, that, you know, Galen and Charlie allowed within the script, and the amount that we got to play, like, those are the things that I think are, you know, make great films like this, like that, you know, when you just have a small budget and a little crew, and just, you know, it's like one of those little projects that the liberties that and the work that you put in is what makes it great. And that's what we did. We put in work to like change it until it was great, you know. And that's why when Rob got there, it was just like, okay, we can play, let's go. And that's why it worked, in my opinion.
You two, man, you two both deserve this one, man. It's been a road since the OC and Riverdale, and I know that's two of y'all most prominent titles that you worked on. But this one right here, man, this is a game changer. We really do get to see the best of you two, and I'm glad you both had so much fun working and collaborating together, and then being in that amazing location in France. Like, this is all a win for you two and the cast, and hopefully we get Galen back to work, and then we get this second story that we're going to have a writing credit and 2 EP credits, all that good stuff. You know what I mean? Galen's going to go like, nah, I didn't say all that. Well, we're putting that in the air right now for you. Just that why.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. So yeah, folks, listen, Art of a Hit, it comes out digitally August 20th. You want to check this one out. It's such a ride, such an experience. And there's so much you can connect with in this film. And if you are a horror fan, you're going to see the layers I was talking about. So Ryan and Rob, I really appreciate the time, and I hope to talk to you both very soon.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you both.
Liberties.